Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
We live in the world with many things around us, and these things have their different shapes depending on their structure. As we live, we always encounter the curves and the rounds, the essential things that makes our lives easy and wonderful. Car tires, watch faces, the sun, rainbows, bowls, smile face, logo of Hyundai and McDo, and the Earth's revolution. These are just examples of conic sections. But how? When did it start? Who were the proponents of this topic, and what's the story behind this concept? Let's take a look on the history of conic sections. Conics is one of the greatest scientific works from the ancient world. The topic of conic sections actually came from exploring the problem of doubling a cube. King Minos wanted to build a tomb and said that the current dimensions were subpar and the cube should be double the size, but not the length. Many mathematicians of that time tried to determine a solution to the problem, but it wasn't until the idea came to Plato's Academy that it was solved by a mathematician named Ignatius. Around 360 to 350 BC, Ignatius discovered the curves parabola, hyperbola, and ellipse. However, he did not use these terms. Instead of those terms, he called the parabola a section of right-angled cone, a hyperbola a section of an obtuse angled cone, an ellipse a section of an acute angled cone. He found this by examining the intersection of a right circular cone of varying vertex angle and obtained perpendicular to the axis of symmetry of the cone. Archimedes never published an entire work dedicated to conics, but he did publish several books that mentioned it. It is said that Archimedes described the different sections of the cones with names, and Apollonius just built the idea from Archimedes. On the other hand, Apollonius is known as the Great Geometer. He is most well known for his 8 books that contain 487 propositions entitled conic sections. He showed that a cone could be a right, oblique, and scalene. Apollonius gave the terms parabola, hyperbola, and ellipse derived from the Greek words of ellipsis, parabolae, and hyperbolae. He also began to use a double nap cone instead of single nap cone because it had a better use of defining the conic section. After Apollonius was the mathematician Pappus and Proclus, who are the reasons why previous mathematicians are credited with examining conic sections. They did this by providing many commentaries on their predecessors' work on conics in the 5th century. After these two mathematics historians, it wasn't until the 15th century, around the era of the Renaissance, that there was a revival in the interest of Greek culture and knowledge. In the era of the Renaissance came the works of Johannes Kepler in the year 1605. Johannes Kepler was the first person to show the elliptic path of Mars revolving around the Sun. This new discovery fueled new motivation in the study of conic sections. However, it dealt more with a focus on the mechanics and astronomy. He also claimed that the line and parabola are extreme types of hyperbola, while the parabola and the circles are extreme types of an ellipse. In addition to these pioneers, there were many mathematicians that contributed to conics, such as Newton, Poncelet, Steiner, Dandelin, Ruben, Jordan, Brecon, and Chastain. What is conic sections? So now we are down to the concept about conic sections. So first of all, what are they and why they are called conic sections? Actually, you probably recognize a few of them already. The circle, the ellipse, the parabola, and the hyperbola. Why are they called conic sections? So to put things simply, it's because they are the intersection of a plane and a cone. Conic section refers to a curve obtained as the intersection of the face of a cone with a plane. Did you know that by taking different slices through a cone, you can create a circle, an ellipse, a parabola, or a hyperbola? Let's go to the type of conic section. Circle. Circle looks like something like that. It is defined as a set of points that are equidistant, the same distance from a certain point. This distance is called the radius of a circle. Circles are a special case of an ellipse. It's an ellipse where it is not stretched in one dimension more than the other. It's kind of perfectly symmetric in every way. Circle is the curve formed when a single nap cone is cut with a plane perpendicular to the axis of the cone. Here are the equations of a circle. Here are some examples of a circle: basketball ball, clock, plate, car wheels, and many others. Plotting it to our double nap cone, this is the circle. Ellipse in layman's term is kind of a squish circle. It could look like something like this. It's the set of all points in the plane, the sum of whose distance from two fixed points called the foci, plural of focus, is constant. An ellipse is a curve formed when a single nap cone is cut with a slanted plane. Ellipse is different from a circle in a way that it does not have a constant radius. It has radius that changes between an x radius and y radius. These are the equations of an ellipse. The standard formula of a horizontal axis is x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. For the vertical axis, x minus h squared over b squared plus y minus k squared over a squared equals 1. The general form of an ellipse is ax squared plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. Here are some examples of an ellipse: Earth revolution, watermelon, football, eye, and many others. To point out on our double nap cone, this is a parabola. A parabola looks like something like this, kind of a U-shape. It is the only conic section that are considered function because they pass the vertical line it does. It is the set of all points in a plane whose distance from a fixed point is equal to its distance from a fixed line. It is a curve formed in a single nap cone. Its standard equation depends on the axis of symmetry. The equations of a parabola are the following. Standard formula for the horizontal axis is quantity of x minus h squared equals 4a of quantity of y minus k. The standard formula for vertical axis is quantity of x minus h squared equals 4p quantity of y minus k. The general formula for parabola is ax squared plus dx squared plus ey equals 0. Here are some examples of parabola: McDo, roller coaster, curve window, bridge, Eiffel Tower, the curve of the smile, and many others. Pointing out on our double nap cone, here's the parabola. The last but not the least, you may not have seen this before. It's hyperbola. It almost looks like two parabolas in the top and bottom of the double nap cone, but not quite, because the curves look like a little less Jewish and a little more open. Because the intersection of a right circular double cone with a plane at an angle greater than the slope of the cone, for example the perpendicular to the base of the cone. The pair of hyperbolas formed by the intersection of a plane with two equal cones on opposite of the same vertex. The set of all points such that the difference between the distance to two focal points is constant. The set of all points such that the ratio of the distance to a single focal point divided by the distance to a line called the directrix is greater than 1. These are the equations of hyperbola. The standard formula for horizontal axis is x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. The standard formula of the vertical axis is y equals k squared over a squared plus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. The general formula of hyperbola is ax squared minus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f equals 0. Here are the examples of hyperbola: hourglass, soccer ball. Plotting it out in our double nap cone, this is hyperbola. Given the general equation ax squared plus bxy plus cy squared plus dx plus ey plus f is equal to 0, we can make an equation that covers all these curves: circle, ellipse, parabola, and hyperbola.